I've got a fair bit to go through, so I'm going to probably speak a bit quickly and take you through. My primary reason for being here is to talk through the subcontractor management, health, safety, environment, quality management, operational management solution. But before I do that, I want to just talk a little bit about the traditional uses of CRM. Originally when we were implementing CRM, we were implementing it as a sales management tool. And that is still the case. Many construction companies are still using it to manage their proposals, manage their pipeline. Also, increasingly with GDPR coming online, people are using it to centralize their data. So CRM is a great place, and this is a maximizer screen here. It's a great place to store all of your contact information, all of the communications. Emails can be integrated in, all of the documentation, any phone calls. Everything can be centralized in one place. So in terms of GDPR, your ability to manage access requests, enforce your policies, apply the right to forget, rectify data, all of that can be done much easier if data is centralized in one place. So not only are people using it in terms of bid management, and they're also increasingly using it as a contact management, and it has all of the traditional tools in terms of visualization. So users can build their own dashboards, double click through and drill down to the information. But the real thing I wanted to talk about was the subcontractor management. So jumping into that, what problem are we trying to fill? I suppose the operational context from our point of view for construction at the moment is that productivity is largely flat since the mid-1990s. There's increased competition for resources, financial resources, human resources. There's increased costs in terms of administration, insurance, safety, and so forth. And there are now, people are looking for solutions in terms of working towards technological solutions, and there's process-based solutions such as the lean construction principles. And underpinning all of that then is the legislative environment with BCAR, Health and Safety Work Act 2013, and the increased responsibilities on construction companies to understand what's going on their site, to document that properly, to make sure that everybody on site is somebody who's been properly trained, is insured, etc. So in terms of productivity, there's a McKinsey report. I'll try my McKinsey report from June 2016 shows that in the general economy there's about a 13% increase in efficiency since the mid-1990s. For construction, however, the increase is slightly more than 4%. So construction has fallen behind where the rest of the economy has gone. And that can be largely because of a take-up of IT. So the graphic at the bottom shows that across many different industries, the different technological sort of solutions that are out there, from document management to administrative tools. And so IT, media, professional services have a really broad uptake, and then down at the bottom we've got agriculture and construction just above that. So there has been a relatively low uptake, which is probably related to the productivity figures above. And that means there's huge opportunities on the technology front. So about a third of users of productivity tools now are getting about 5 hours a week back in terms of using project management or document management type solutions. And there's a WEF, a World Economic Forum report from 2016 that has analysed the uptake of technology over the next 10 years in construction, and estimates there should be savings between 13 and 21% by the application of technology. From a legislative point of view, obviously there's the Health and Safety at Work Act 2013 and the BCAR regulations, and they've given rise to increased administrative costs in terms of construction and completion. There's a requirement to do detailed record keeping on subcontractors, their employees, their insurance, their training, and basically to know who's on your site at any point in time. So there are massive opportunities to using technology, and this is where our solution comes in to drive down the costs involved in that. So our solution is pretty broad, very functionally broad. I could probably talk about it for hours, but I only have about 20 minutes. To give you a high-level introduction, and then what I'll do is I'll drill into some of these areas. So right the way from pre-qualification, you can decide, set the standards for the people that you work with. So you can apply any forms that you want, checklists that you want. Anybody who wants to work with you needs to meet those standards, and you can make sure that that the organisation, whether it's the finance department, whether it's operational people, are involved in making decisions about whether these subcontractors should work with you. And the way the system works is you send out an invitation to a portal. They log in and they register on that portal, and then they take responsibility thereafter to maintain the records. So they're uploading the copies of documentation, they're adding all of their employees, they're keeping their records up to date. And from your perspective, that's not an admin task you take on, that's a task you've outsourced. And then what you obviously need is somebody who's going to check that the document they scan and upload is actually an insurance certificate. So you have someone who's spot checking, making sure that things are as they should be, but a lot of the administration gets pushed out. So within subcontractor management then, once you've started to work with a subcontractor, you've got across the whole life cycle, you're scoring their performance. You can score performance at an employee level, score performance at a company level, across each of the projects, across different metrics, and then those can be rolled up and averaged out. So you're building up a history, deciding who you want to work with, who's working well with you, who's been working well, who you've good history with, and so on. Then in terms of project cycle, you can take it right the way from issuing them with plans and looking for costings on jobs, all the way through assigning them onto projects, and then through to payment and managing payment, and if there are issues, withholding payment. So that project cycle manages that whole circuit. Site access, I'm going to talk in detail, a little more in detail about that, but you can control who goes on through the database, who gets onto your site through the database. Audits, inspections, incident management. You keep a complete record of everything you're finding in terms of your audits, inspections, any issues which are arising around incidents, accidents, and you're setting up workflows around that so as that any issues which arise are being worked out and being managed out. Showed you a little bit about visualization, so there are a number of different dashboarding tools within the system. We'd normally expect the users to be able to build those dashboards out and then drill down from there, and then document management, which I'll talk a bit more about. So to start off with subcontractor management, again, fairly straightforward. Maximizer screen. You can see the different colours for different subcontractors, and that can be based on the rating of the subcontractor. So as I said, your subcontractors are building up a history with you, so you're getting a rating there. So even if you're not personally familiar with how they're performing, or if you notice that that their score is dropping off or whatever, you can drill into the projects and see what's going on. They can also be read out because there may be problems with insurance or maybe employees with safe pass issues, whatever it is, we can put rules on it. And here's a typical form in terms of the information you'd expect them to enter through the portal. But any forms can go into this. So if you have existing forms, then they can go into the system. Pretty much everything you see on the screen is configurable. So generally when we work, we have a number of construction companies using this at the moment, developers. We would sit with them, we would work out what forms they have at the moment, and we would apply those forms into the system. You can also, from the same place, you can see all the projects they've worked on in the past with you. So you can see in this case where they were not selected on a project, disqualified themselves, they've completed a number of projects and they're in progress on a project. And then you can see the scoring that they got on that project, which of course gets averaged up and used up here. And also in terms of any incidents which have occurred, any inspections. So again, from the same place, from when you look at a subcontractor, you can see all of any incidents which they've had, and any issues which have occurred during inspections which you've assigned to them to resolve or to work out. You also have documents, notes. Within documents and notes, all emails are saved, all documents which are exchanged are recorded in there. So again, from the one place you can see everything that you've communicated with them. And this is a list of employees and a typical employee record. A typical employee record might include all the different training and expiry dates on their certification, safe pass number and so forth is there. And in this case, this employee has expired training, so they're being highlighted. And the system is managing that for you. So the system, you can set rules in the system to say, well, 60 days before something expires, it's sending emails out. It's not sending them to the employee, it's obviously sending them to whoever the contracts manager is within your subcontractor. So it's communicating out and managing this data for you. And of course you're aware of that because you're getting color coded, you're getting dashboards, or in fact you can get notifications up on your screen. And the other thing that you can do then is you generate your documentation from within the system. So for instance, this is an induction form. So when you pick an employee, you can generate an induction. It gets pre-populated. I'm going to grab this tablet here. And so generally the way this works is a lot of this work is done on a little tablet like this that someone might have out on site, and the touch screen on this, they can then fill it in, they go through, they tick the boxes to say what they've covered. Any additional information gets filled in by the person completing induction, and then it gets signed and that gets saved into the system, so there's a permanent record of that. Moving quickly on then, we're looking at the project cycle. In this case here, these are project records, so there'd be a project record for every subcontractor on that project. Any of the documentation relating to that project with that subcontractor gets put in there. But everything else relating to that subcontractor, like their site meeting, when they come on site, that's recorded in this in the same way, printed out, signed on this, saved back in, and they get a printout of that. And you can set this process here. So there's a process here which takes them all the way through to selected, active on project. You set that, and then we've got some simple scoring things here, which ultimately gets rolled up into their project completion score. You also can select the employees that are working on the project, so you see all of their employees, but you can also see which employees are allocated to this project, and you can score against those employees on a regular basis. So again, you're building up a history around individual employees. And here is an example of some of the documentation that gets created during a project. This is a permit, and so it's a high roof work permit. There are different permits in the system, and again, we can take in the permits that you may have operational at the moment. And you can see down here, signature captured. So again, this comes out on the tablet. Touch screen, someone will use a stylus, so they'll use a finger, they'll mark that, and that'll be saved back in signature to indicate that they've met all the criteria in terms of the high working, they've got their harnesses and so forth in place, and that's saved back into the system, and that also then generates a printout back in the office, so the guy can go into the office, he's going to get a printout of that, and he can hold on to that to show. So this document is saved in, and anybody back in head office or anyone else can see those permits and has them as a permanent record. Moving on to site access, and I'm flying through these fairly quickly. We have, in this instance, we work with a number of time systems. So when somebody completes induction, they're registered on the system, they're given a fob or they're given a card. Whenever they come in and out of the site, they're checking in. When they go through the gate and they check in to get access to the site, that's sending a message back to the system. It's making sure they're cleared to be on there. They may not have done induction, and if not, the system is going to flag that, and they're going to get a warning. Or they maybe there's an issue with their subcontractor's dispute, and they shouldn't be coming on site right now. So what happens is an alert will come up on the time system screen to say, you go to the canteen, wait in the canteen, someone's going to come to talk to you, and then a text is sent out to whoever you want. It can be the site manager or whoever is responsible on site. They'll get a text to say, Oliver's attempted to come on site, there's an issue with insurance, we've asked them to go to the canteen, and you need to deal with that, and the person's referred there. That's also a permanent record of who was on site when. If somebody comes back and says a year later, I hurt myself on your site on such a date, well, you've got a permanent record of when they were on site, what time they came on, and so forth. Audits, inspections, flying quickly through this. Again, this is filled in on a tablet. You walk around the site. You have your various different categories of items that you want to measure. You go in and you say, "I'm happy. Yes, yes, yes." Any item you're not happy with, you mark that as a no, and the system is creating a task in the background. So that task gets saved in it. When you go back to the office, you can see the list of tasks that need to be assigned on the back of this inspection, and you can start to say, well, I want software support to deal with this one, I want CG consulting to deal with this one. You go in and you assign that to the relevant people, and that part of the inspection is assigned out. Also, because you're using your tablet and the screen disconnects, you can take photographs, and the photographs are they're linked into this, so they're saved against the inspection. And it's the same for incidents. You fill in your incident detail, you take some pictures, and those are saved against the record here. So that's a permanent record of that inspection, the photographs you took, what tasks have been assigned out to people, and you manage it out from there. And if necessary, escalate. There's workflows to escalate internally. So type of reports that come out of that's a stretched version of an inspection report, and some dummy data, photographs that have been patched into it. So this is a report that's used in safety meetings on site. You can see what are the issues which have arisen in our last inspection, our last number of inspections. You can see the photographs, you can see who's been assigned the tasks, and you can sit with the people and say, so where are we in closing this out, and measure them out. And obviously, that goes in to create sort of global information across all of your projects, or it could be on any individual project. So here's the range of headings that you're inspecting across, and again, we can change these up or add new ones. And you can see here we've done a number of inspections, and we quite obviously have a problem with excavations and manhole covers. So very visually, you can see where things are going well, and you can see where there are issues. You can send someone, make sure someone's attended to that issue, and drive down any risks involved in that. And then talk about document management. So we have implemented the box document management solution in behind Maximizer. So that's completely transparent. For most users on site, they're using document management as just another tab within the solution. But then you've got people in head office who may have more administrative control, who may be deciding who is privileged to see what, sharing documents or whatever it is. And so they have access to the full document management interface. Box itself is a leader. You may be familiar with Gartner, the Gartner quadrants. So Gartner are a sort of leading analysis body. They analyze technology trends, technology solutions, and they have Box out in front in terms of the content management. And actually, I understand that originally Gartner were analysing and reporting on document management, and after working on the Box solution, they decided to change the whole approach and work towards content management. So document management being more about file structures, document viewing, sharing and things like that. Content management being a lot more about security and version control, commenting, metadata, these sort of things. So Box is way out in front on that, but it is quite simple interface. In terms of you've got your folders, you've got your files, but then you can always see who was responsible for this, who uploaded, who the owners were, and you've access to commenting and so forth. So we can, for instance, see all of the versions of a document. So no more do you have to save a file up with version 2, version 3 on it. You've saved the file back again and again. If you need to go back a few versions, you basically download the previous version. You've got access to that. So you're anybody who you share the files with is always looking at the latest version of the file. So we use this now. We no longer send attachments by email. What we do now is we send links into Box, and there's a previewing tool. I'll try and jump forward twice. There's a previewing tool. There's about 100 different file formats which it supports through here. So when we send a link, people can open that straight away without having to use attachments, which means we never have to worry about latest versions of documents because it's always the latest version that they're looking at. And then you have commenting. So you can comment on this. So you can move conversations out of email around plans or drawings or whatever, and the conversations can move in here. So you can share directories with collaborators, or share individual files, and that means if you're working on drawings, working on plans, they can be annotated, they can be commented on, and that happens within the tool. It's not happening outside. I jump back. You also have complete information on who's accessing, downloading, editing, viewing the file. So if you do share it with your subcontractors, or you share it with anybody, you know that who accesses it, when they access it, and if they don't register in, if they don't have a login, and normally they're prompted for a login, but they access it without that, it'll show you an IP address, and it'll make a best guess as to the location of that IP address. So it'll say City West, or it'll say Newbridge Kildare, or whatever it is, so you can be pretty sure who it is that's accessing that. And then very quickly, aside from the 120 different file types that are supported and this 3D viewers and so forth that are in there, there's also a whole load of integrations, about 1,400 actually. And so this integration allows you to take drawings, allows you to manipulate them, resize them, move them around. And again, that's from within Box. So if you've got a Box login, you can pull up any format and manipulate it here. So there's, as I said, about 1,400 integrations into third-party applications. It's a highly secure environment. It's GDPR compliant. It's PCI, payment card industry compliant. So the data that's in it is completely secure. And it enables you to work seamlessly. So for instance, we use Slack as a messaging tool, we use Office 365, we can move documents around, talk to each other about documents within Slack, or open and edit documents online directly in the viewer, and we're never really downloading or passing documents around. They're still living within the environment when we're manipulating them. So that's a really sprint through some of the functionality that we have within the system. What can it do for you? Well, all company employee details are in one place. It's permanent and record with long-term follow-ups. So for instance, if you have signed off on a development and you need to make sure your subcontractors have 10 years worth, are going to maintain their insurance for 6 years or 10 years, the system is going to do that for you. So you set that up and the system will come back every year or every 6 months or whenever you want it to and start telling you, we'll start sending them emails telling you need to check that they've updated their insurance details and so on. It tracks all HSEQ details, tracks individual performance right down to an employee level, and then rolls that up to organisational and tracks the organisational performance, allows you to judge who you want to work with, controls who accesses the site, keeps a record of who that is, manages incident reports to resolution, automate action plans. If you have a particular type of incident and you want the same template of actions to happen every time, we can automatically assign that. You log that as an incident, a truck crashes into a gate, you want to make sure that the same tasks are carried out, we can have that automatically assign tasks out to that. It'll tell one person you need to do this within a week, another person has 2 weeks to complete a report or whatever it is, and that's assigned, and that's part of their workflow. They know that they need to complete that. Conducts audits, inspection, and manage corrective action. Document management, everything in one place, accessible everywhere, and system notifies of any anomalies. So it is watching your subcontracting audience, and it's also watching your staff all of the time, watching for anomalies, letting them know when anything's not working right. And I'm nearly done, Caroline. Benefits to you: increase and monitor efficiencies. Will increase and monitor efficiency. You will increase efficiency. Will allow you to monitor that. You should be able to see that. Easy implementation. So as I say, you could pretty much take it out of the box, but you can also give us your forms, if you existing forms, and we'll put them in. And in fact, generally speaking, we push that out, help organisations do that. So we'll give you the skills to do that. It's simple to do. Traceability, so you have a full history of everything. Great, and from our perspective, great customer service. We look to build long-term relationship with people. We're focused on that initial implementation. We're focused on uptake, and that often means working very close to the initial project team. And everything's in the box. A lot of systems that you buy, you're buying add-ons, you're buying increased subscriptions. This isn't. It comes from out of the box and you work from there. So thank you very much.